Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. Coming up in today's newscast, Israelis and Palestinians react to the controversial settlement law. The White House leaves Israel out of their list of underreported terror attacks, and Israeli actress Natalie Portman gives the world a very special Hebrew lesson. I'm Natasha Kirchak here with the latest news in Israel. The Israeli government is still coming under fire from the world for its decision to pass the controversial settlement law, which retroactively legalizes 4,000 settlement homes built on privately owned Palestinian land. But what do locals on the ground think about the move? Feelings have been mixed among both Israelis and Palestinians. The Palestinians have been quick to condemn the legislation, but some Israelis believe the new law will come to benefit both Israelis and Palestinians alike.
שני הצדדים בעצם נהנים, גם צד שהאדמה בבעלותו והוא לא יכול לממש את הנוכחות שלו שם, הוא יקבל על זה סכום כסף יפה ומכובד ויוכל לבנות במקום אחר, וגם מי שכבר גר לא יצטרכו לפרק לו שזה מפעל חיים, וזה דבר שהוא נהוג בהרבה מקומות בעולם, והוא דבר שהוא מהיגיון. ועכשיו החליטו ככה שזה מה שיהיה, נשמע שזה דבר שהוא ראוי וטוב.
Other Israelis believe the law is just a way to formally steal land.
I think it's a horrible law. I think it's impossible to take lands from their owners and to work against the ownership of people.
But like the Israelis that are currently living in the settlements in the West Bank, there are many that believe the Jews have a biblical right to the land.
There's never been a land called Palestine. The people who live in the settlements call them settlers, whatever you like, but they believe that it's the biblical land of Israel, and I think they've got as much right to live there as the Palestinians.
The legislation was passed by a vote of 60 to 52 in the Israeli Knesset and was largely backed by the Prime Minister's coalition. Yet it's raised lots of tension within the government. Netanyahu himself has reportedly privately opposed the bill, citing major concerns it could make Israel susceptible to prosecution by the International Criminal Court. The new law is expected to face trouble in Israeli courts, and even the White House is withholding comment on the legislation until then. Palestinians are already voicing their concerns over what could come as a result of the new law.
مجرد أن يكون هناك شرعنة للمستوطنات معنى أن هناك سوف تكون جيتوهات وأبرتايد للفلسطينيين يعيشون في هذه المناطق بمعنى تضييق الخناق على الفلسطيني وأيضا إيجاد كنتونات للمواطنين الفلسطينيين في هذه المناطق التي هي بكل الشرائع الدولية وبكل ما نصت عليه هذه الشرائع أنها أراضي فلسطينية خالصة وأرض الدولة الفلسطينية القادمة.
It also gives the settlers not only a green light but license to embark on a land grab and to steal more land with full impunity.
The Israeli Attorney General has already described the law as unconstitutional since it allows the expropriation of private land in areas of the West Bank that Israel seized during the 1967 Middle East War. The new law allows settlers to remain on that very land if they can prove that they built their homes there without prior knowledge of Palestinian ownership or if the government approved the construction. International parties are already condemning Israel's new settlement law, and the French president is even claiming the move is paving the way towards the annexation of the Palestinian territories.
Accélération des colonisations qui en plus a été couverte par un cadre légal puisque le Parlement israélien hier a adopté un texte qui, s'il est confirmé par la Cour constitutionnelle, aurait comme conséquence de légaliser les colonies sauvages et d'ouvrir la voie à une annexion de fait des territoires occupés, ce qui serait contraire à la solution des deux États. Je veux croire que Israël et son gouvernement peuvent revenir sur ce texte et peuvent retrouver. Je pense que ce serait nécessaire la voie de l'équilibre et donc de la négociation et du dialogue.
Interestingly, polls on the ground disprove the French president's allegations by showing that most Israelis oppose annexing part of the West Bank. The Peace Index poll by the Israel Democracy Institute and Tel Aviv University found that 53% of Jewish Israelis are against annexation, and 50% believe it's unwise to expand construction in the West Bank. Either way, the UN Secretary General is following the French president's lead by also speaking out against the bill.
This bill is in contravention of international law and will have far-reaching legal consequences for Israel. The Secretary General insists on the need to avoid any action that would derail the two-state solution. All core issues should be resolved between the parties through direct negotiations on the basis of relevant Security Council resolutions and mutual agreements.
The Israeli government has not yet publicly responded to the international criticism of its new settlement law, which retroactively legalizes about 4,000 settlement homes on privately owned Palestinian land. Just 1 week remains until the first White House summit between the Israeli Prime Minister and U.S. President Donald Trump. So what can we expect to be the focus of discussion? ILTV's Steve Leibowitz sat down with Times of Israel news editor Josh Davidovich to find out.
Do you think that Trump is going to press Bibi for an answer?
He may press Bibi for an answer, and I don't know if he'll get one. You ask, what does Israel want? And I'm not sure Israel knows what it wants. You have, half the country saying, that they back up.
Netanyahu know what he wants. It's Netanyahu that's going to sit in that meeting with Trump. Is there any chance he will give a very clear message to Trump of what it is that he's hoping to get from the United States?
I don't think so. I think a main criticism that's been leveled against Netanyahu over the last 7 or so years is that he's an expert at managing the conflict, not actually doing anything about it, but just being able to play sides off each other and stay in power that way. And I think that that's what he intends on continuing to do. He might say, he said at the Bar Ilan speech, I think in 2009, 2010, that he supported the two-state solution, but he's done nothing in the last, 7 years since then, to actually advance a two-state solution. And so he'll say what he needs to say and he'll do what he needs to do to basically try to appease everybody. And in terms of Trump may try to get a clear message out of him and he may get some sort of lip service out of him, but in terms of knowing exactly how Netanyahu plans on moving forward or doing anything, I don't foresee any sort of clear answer.
Well, based on your answers until now, and even on my questions until now, it seems like the issue of moving the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem has kind of been put on a back burner, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's what it seems to be. We'll see if it happens. I don't think it actually will, but the real test will be in May when Trump will have to decide. He'll have to keep the embassy from moving, he'll have to actually do something and stop saying something, because that's when the waiver comes up. And so we'll see what happens then.
And
but
what
until
is that
then,
waiver?
That is the congressional waiver from 1995 that calls on the U.S. to move the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, but there is a 6-month waiver to put it off for security reasons. And every president since then has signed the waiver. It's become pro forma to sign the waiver. And
that's in May.
And that's in May. That'll come up at the end of May.
Well, an announcement in May could be a very nice Independence Day gift from the United States to Israel.
It could be if you're for moving. Yeah, it could be. We'll see.
Thank you very much for being with us at ILTV.
Thanks.
The White House has just released a controversial report on what it believes to be the, quote, most underreported terror attacks over the last 2 years. And not one of those attacks took place in Israel. The former U.S. ambassador to Israel, Dan Shapiro, has already spoken out against the list, claiming several terror attacks in Israel have genuinely been underreported and that the White House's omission of the Jewish state is, quote, hard to explain. The list includes 78 attacks that took place around the world from September of 2014 to December of 2016 that were carried out by radical Islamic terrorists. During that time, over 350 terrorist attacks took place in Israel, according to Israel's foreign ministry. Some of the attacks on the White House list were in fact widely covered in the media, including the Paris attack in November of 2015 and the mass shootings in Orlando and San Bernardino. U.S. President Donald Trump claims that many jihadist attacks are not reported by the media, as a means of downplaying their true threat. CNN senior White House correspondent Jim Acosta has derided Trump's conspiracy theory, claiming the president's set of facts just don't exist. The Hamas terror group has just released a music video threatening to destroy Israel, but it's not having quite the effect its creators were hoping for. The song's entitled "Zionist, You Will Die in Gaza," and it was taped in broken Hebrew. Lyrics vowing to attack Jews with rockets come just one day after real-life Palestinian missiles hit the Israeli south, followed by retaliatory Israeli air and tank strikes. Animated characters sing and rhyme about wreaking destruction and forcing Israelis to drink from the cup of death. Other lyrics promise any Israeli soldiers will be killed if they cross into Gaza, or that they'll have to beg for their lives and, get this, be eaten without salt. Now, that's a scary thought. The colorful cartoon showed Jews being chopped up or impaled and rockets hitting IDF headquarters in Tel Aviv. As dire as all this sounds, most Israelis don't really take this or any previous releases of the terrorist version of MTV very seriously. Most of the public says that the poor Hebrew and ridiculous claims are really rather funny, and some even share them on social media as sources of amusement. There's been increasing friction between Islamic State-affiliated terrorists operating in the Sinai on Egyptian territory and Hamas in Gaza. The source of the animosity, in part, is likely caused by an increasing number of operatives who have been defecting from Hamas to join the nearby ISIS group. ILTV's Aaron Porras has more on the story.
Thank you, Natasha. Yeah, it's as you said, it would seem that over the past several years, Hamas is believed to have lost dozens of its members of its Izz ad-Din al-Qassam military wing to ISIS, including several from the supposedly elite Nukhba fighting unit.
Wow.
Many Hamas experts on building roadside bombs and the operation of anti-tank missiles instead used their training to help the ISIS branch called Sinai Province in battle against the Egyptian army. Some of the Palestinians even relocated to the Sinai with their entire families and are now said to serve as conduits for communication with the Gaza-based terrorists. Others have been killed in the violence in the Sinai, while those who try to return to Gaza are often arrested. One such 20-year-old commando was particularly aggravating to the Islamist Hamas rulers because he defected from their elite naval unit. The Sinai province reportedly retaliated for the arrests of its operatives by cutting back on the flow of goods it illegally smuggles into Gaza. After their release, relations between the two radical jihadi organizations is said to have improved. Despite suffering the loss of manpower, Hamas remains very dependent on contraband, such as weapons, being snuck in from the Sinai.
The Adi Foundation is an Israeli-Spanish flamenco dance organization that was created in the memory of a special young woman named Adi Agmon. Agmon lost a devastating battle to cancer but remained an avid fan of the Spanish dance form until her very last days. Now, every 2 years, the Adi Foundation hosts a special flamenco competition as part of the Israeli Dia del Flamenco festival, and one lucky Israeli is granted a special scholarship to study flamenco in Spain. Joining me today is Vlada Vest, a contestant in this year's competition, to tell us more about this incredible event. Thank you so much for coming in, Vlada.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so to begin, how did you start dancing flamenco? You were raised in Israel. It's not very common here.
It's true. Not only I was raised in Israel, but I came from the far, far south, from Eilat, and we didn't have a lot of opportunities there back then. So I studied ballet first for quite a few years. And when I was 8, a flamenco teacher just popped up. She just showed up at the dance school, and my mom pushed me to try it out. So my first lesson was with ballet clothes. I had no idea what flamenco was. So
well, it's such a beautiful, it's one of my favorite dances to watch, and you have to have so much strength and power to be able to dance this. People don't even understand how strong you actually have to be to do this dance. Now, how did you get involved with the Adi Foundation more specifically?
Well, I went to a course that was prepared actually towards the competition. I wasn't sure I was going to go to the competition, but I really wanted to take the course because I heard really great things about the teacher. And I really wanted to try it out, so that's my personal acquaintance with the foundation.
Did it have a big influence on your life in terms of developing your flamenco skills?
I think that in the back of my mind it has, because living in Eilat, it gave me new standards. You know what I mean? Like, I had something to strive for. I knew that in Tel Aviv I could go there and I could dance professionally and perform and see shows.
Now, speaking of that, you know, there's this huge competition that takes place every 2 years, like I just spoke about. Now, tell us about how this competition works. I know you're a contestant this year, and it's going to be taking place in Tel Aviv, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
In
so tell us
Suzanne
about it.
Delal Center.
Oh, okay, beautiful.
So there's 3 stages. The first one is not really exposed to an audience. It's going to be a class with a local teacher. And each one of us will have to dance one of our dances at the end, just to perform. And afterwards, there's going to be the second stage where we're going to have to do both of our dances. There's a mandatory one and a dance of our choices.
Now, who's going to be judging?
There will be a panel from Israel and also a guest judge, which also choreographed the mandatory dance.
Beautiful.
And she'll be performing in the main show. Also.
So do you have everything prepared? You must be kind of nervous about this. It's coming up soon.
I'm working on it. Definitely working on it, towards it. It's a process.
Unfortunately, we can't get a sneak peek right now in the studio, but I really do hope that I'm going to be able to show up. Now, there's a prize that you're going to be fighting for, and it's a big prize, right? You'll be able to go to Spain. What could you win?
Yes. Well, it's a scholarship. It's a very nice scholarship that can grant you a nice visit to Spain to study, which is what I think every dancer here wants for herself.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, because Israel is a smaller country, there's a lot of different cultures, but to be able to kind of pursue this dance in its home country, you know, where it came from, it's a huge dream. Now, that first prize means that you would also win 12,000 shekels to travel and study flamenco in Spain.
Yes.
It's a big deal. All right, so for those of us like myself who would like to go and watch you perform, when is this competition going to take place?
It's going to start on the 23rd of March.
Okay.
Okay, it's going to be the first day and throughout the 25th. So there's going to be a night show on all of the 3 days. And the second stage is going to be on Friday. And the last stage will be in a festive gala evening at the end of the festival, the last day.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, well, I mean, is there anything else that you'd just like to tell us about kind of what this experience means to you as an Israeli who has learned, you know, a foreign dance here in...
Yes, I think it's just, it's a beautiful art form that suits to everyone because everyone can dance. It's not limited by age or gender or anything else really. And also, I think it goes well with Israeli people because of the temper, I guess, and the mutual kind of background also.
Beautiful.
And it's exciting. It's an exciting development.
Absolutely. Well, I hope that I can go and watch you perform. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
The Israeli army is made up of a number of different ethnic groups, and now for the first time ever, a member of the nomadic Bedouin community is about to be promoted to colonel. Hassan Abu Salb is currently a lieutenant colonel who's serving the Jewish state as the head of the tracking division of the West Bank. Once his promotion has been approved by the defense minister, he'll be charged with leading the Manpower Directorate program. There are now about 1,500 Bedouin in the Israeli Defense Forces, and unlike Jewish and Druze citizens who are drafted into compulsory service, the Bedouin volunteer for duty. Once Abu Salab takes over his new position, he says he hopes to increase recruitment from his tribal Arab community to be at least 3 times higher than it is today. Most of those who do serve end up in elite tracking units due to incredible skills developed over generations of living in the desert. But the Israeli defense establishment intends to expand the range of available options to the Bedouin soldiers, while also improving their overall integration into the military. This effort will also be spearheaded by the new colonel. Altogether, about 250,000 Bedouin are believed to be living in Israel. A new record has been set this past year for private equity investments coming into Israel. ILTV's Aaron Porras joins me here with more on the story. Aaron, give me some of these good numbers.
Yeah, I will. The numbers are indeed very promising, showing a 14% rise in investments from 2015. But there's a little bit more to the story, so let's go to my report and I'll tell you more.
Over $3.5 billion in private equity funding was invested into the Jewish state in 2016, in a total of 68 local deals. The number of deals is actually a drop from the recent average of 82 annually, and is a 17% drop from 103 deals in 2015. But in investments, it's not always quantity, but quality. Just 4 company buyouts consisting of $100 million or more accounted for $2.5 billion, or nearly 3/4 of the total capital investments of fiscal year 2016. The 4 buyouts were of Keter Plastics Ltd. for $1.4 billion, of the companies Zura for $643 million, Syntech Media at $400 million, and G4S Israel at $100 million. The IVC Research Center partnered with attorneys Shibboleth & Co. to create the list. And according to a statement from Omer Ben-Tzvi, a partner at Shibboleth & Company, the high value of the private equity deals is encouraging despite the decline in number, as the number is proportional to the private equity market in the United States.
Portman speaks fluent Hebrew, of course, but some critics might even argue that a few nuances might be missing from her translation. And you may have even detected the slight American accent she acquired after moving to the U.S. as a child with her family. Funny enough, Portman had to hire an Israeli accent coach of her own when she starred in A Tale of Love and Darkness, a Hebrew language film that she directed in 2015.
Hi, I'm Natalie Portman, and I'm going to take you through some Hebrew slang. Lizrom means to flow, if you want to like flow with things, go with the flow. Eze basa, it sucks, like what a shame, but it's like more harder than that. Chaval al hazman, the direct translation would be like pity about the time, but it means like very good, like how is the concert? Chaval al hazman means pity for your time. Ala panim means on your face, and that means terrible. So if you're like, how is your dinner? You're like, ala panim, terrible. Zayin is dick, also a letter of the alphabet. Chai b'seret, this is a great one. This means you're living in a movie. Which is like, you know, someone's being dramatic or they're unrealistic or whatever about their prospects. You say they're living in a movie. Chai b'seret. Ben zona, son of a whore. Balagan is a great one. Kind of the first word that people learn when they move to Israel, and it means a mess. And it comes from the same root as balcony, because balconies were like where you like threw your clothes and dirty rags and stuff, and it would be like a mess. And so it's the same. Maniac is maniac. Oh, and l'chaim is to life, which is also how you say cheers. So, l'chaim.
University of Haifa's Hebrew Summer Ulpan, open to everyone.
And now for our Hebrew word of the day. Today's word, which we think will be worthy of your time, is shaveh, meaning worth or value. In Hebrew, the word shaveh has lots of different uses. You could be appraising something at the market by asking, ma ze shaveh, meaning what's the worth of this? Or maybe just commenting on how great a bargain is by saying, wow, shaveh. You could even just be telling your friends to see a new awesome movie by saying ze shaveh, or it's worth it. Just remember not to get too wrapped up in what material things are shaveh and what things aren't, because the greatest worth is in what you are and not what you have. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast.
ILTV's weather forecast is sponsored by Adopt a Savta, taking care of Israel's lonely Holocaust survivors.
Tonight will be partly cloudy with a chance of rain and a low of 51 or 11 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow you can expect more of the same, but with a drop in temperatures to a high of 66 or 19 degrees Celsius. All right, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.75 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at iltv.tv. Thanks for watching and see you tonight.